The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
Yes, indeed. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley.
And I'm the other host, Warren.
Well, here we are. Let me open up my Dr. Pepper.
Please do.
Oh, yeah.
You do love that Dr. Pepper.
Mm-hmm. So, Warren.
Yeah.
How was your weekend so far?
It's been all right. It's been a little rainy out. I didn't get much sleep last night. I had to sleep on the floor.
You went to go see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, if I'm not incorrect?
That's correct. I did go see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
And how was that? Was that an amazing experience?
No, it was a terrible experience. I don't understand the point of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Well, my understanding, I heard that you and a bunch of friends were going to go do this. It was supposedly going to be this amazing, fun outing. And my initial reaction as soon as I heard this plan was, Warren is going to hate this. And did you know anything about them before going? Did you watch any YouTube videos? Or
Well, I looked at the Wikipedia page and found out they weren't from Siberia.
Or Trans-Siberia?
Trans-Siberia or anything. And then
Isn't that just a region in Risk or something? Or Kamchatka Peninsula?
It's an actual region, but I don't think there are very many like metal rocking guys there rocking about Christmas. I watched like clips of them from Good Morning America with Charlie Gibson introduced them, and
Right.
I was like, oh, I'm going to see these people. These people don't look very interesting, and they really weren't. There was a lot of like lasers and like flashing lights, and there was like footage of like Winston Churchill and Gandhi. And
Winston
then, like,
Churchill and Gandhi.
I don't know. And then Ronald Reagan, like, saying, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Woo!
Yeah, people were, like, clapped for that. And,
So are they... Okay, because what I knew of them was that they were obnoxious. That was basically what I had... And I knew that it was vaguely Christmas-related, like they were just covering Christmas songs with, like, distorted guitars. Where are they from? Are they European?
I think they're from somewhere in America. They're just...
Really?
Just some American guys that started, like, a rock band, and then they started, like, doing Christmas covers. And now they have, like, an orchestra and, like, a bunch of guys with long hair.
Orchestra.
And they run around, and they, like, screeching guitars, and everyone there seemed really into it. It looked like an elaborate joke to me. Like it was some sort of like...
See, that's what would be great, is if these people, this very, very long-term plan of theirs, we're going to start this band. It's going to be awful. It'll be the worst music ever. And somehow we're going to get millions of people to enjoy the band. And then finally, after, 40 years and 20 albums, be like, ha ha!
We suck. You people didn't notice that we suck. Yeah, I can't imagine that it exists, even though it does, you know? It feels like it was a weird dream where there was all like a laser light show with this like rocking band in an arena full of like old people.
Yeah, what was the demographic for most of the audience?
There were a lot of bald people.
Yeah.
There were also young people there who had like Trans-Siberian Orchestra t-shirts.
What was the t-shirt like?
They had some like kind of like creepy logo, and it was supposed to be kind of gothy, I think. I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make any sense.
That's what I was trying to figure out, because do people buy their albums and listen to it really loudly in their car as they're driving down the street? Is it something that you would go to a party and people would be, hey, listen to this jam, and they put on the Trans-Siberian Orchestra and you smoke a lot of pot and do beer bongs? Or
I don't think so. I think that people get the Christmas albums and then put them on at Christmas.
Is it only Christmas music?
I think they had some other non-Christmas records, but I think those ones pale in comparison to the like 3 Christmas records they have that are very popular.
Well, there was always the Mannheim Steamrollers.
That's what it made me think of. People were
Yeah.
like, let's go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I was like, who am I thinking of? I was thinking of Mannheim Steamroller.
Oh, God damn it. My dad was into them for a while, and it's so horrendous. It's the worst It sounds like, I don't know, a Casio keyboard from 1986 playing "O Come All Ye Faithful" with this horrible, like, like electronic maracas in the background. It's the worst shit ever.
For some reason, I conflated those two things, and that's what when I thought about.
That's kind of I made that connection too. Like I wasn't sure if I could differentiate between the two if I heard them both.
Well, you remember Rush Limbaugh was a big fan of Mannheim Steamroller, I believe.
Oh yeah, I think he was
like
in the 90s.
He was like pimping Mannheim Steamroller CDs or something, and they were like selling them on the show.
Paid product placement on the Rush Limbaugh show, which is a great way to reach the youth of America.
I don't know. People love Christmas music, and they'll take it in any form they can get it, I guess.
I enjoy. When I was a kid and we'd go to church, we'd sing the hymns, the Christmas hymns. That's fine. That's perfectly fine to me. I do not like contemporary versions of Christmas carols like, "Oh, come all you faithful," like these weird, it's really obnoxious.
Well, I guess Bieber has a Christmas album out now.
I'm going to have to pick that up.
Yeah, that seems really good.
How old is he now? 13? 14?
I think he's 16. Well, really? You heard about the woman claiming that she had been impregnated by him, right?
Really?
Yeah, some 20-year-old. And was like, I'm carrying Bieber's baby. And then Bieber's rep was like, Bieber's never met this woman.
Maybe he's got a little more salt than I thought.
No, apparently he had never really had met the woman. And this woman had done it before to some other celebrity.
See, this is the great idea, though, is if Justin Bieber were actually just like, "Come on, bitches!" and just getting all these women in his dressing room backstage. I'm so out of touch with all the pop culture stuff. And I guess a lot of people on podcasts, that's what they talk about. But
we're going to talk about Rush Limbaugh from the early 90s.
We can't talk about pop culture because I've never seen. I don't have cable. I don't watch any TV shows other than things that people tell me I should see. I'll go, like I watch Breaking Bad on Netflix or something. I don't have any idea about the popular TV. I've never seen Dancing with the Stars. I've never seen American Idol, even though that's not very cool anymore, is it? Apparently.
No, I watched it, but it was like 10 years ago when I watched it.
It's like the X Factor now or something?
Oh, yeah, that's Simon's new show.
Okay. Yeah, I've never seen any of these things. So people talk about these reality stars who are only famous because they were in some obnoxious, shitty show and have done nothing ever. And I don't know who they are. And I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by not knowing who these people are.
Well, we used to get OK Weekly at the house. And then I would read about the people, and I never knew why these people were, like, pictured in there. They just say, oh, there's this person. And then you'd find out there's never a good reason. It's always like they were on, like, some sort of cooking show or something, and they made a big impression or something.
Well, because you actually do know the names. You'll know...
Yeah, I know the names.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Well, we had an Us Weekly at Thanksgiving. And we were all looking through it, and I got a little bit more caught up on things.
Is that the one where they always have the pictures on the cover of people in bathing suits, and they have circles around the cellulite on their thighs and things like that?
I don't know if that might be In Touch. There's a certain hierarchy to them. Mm-hmm. Like there's Us and OK and In Touch. I think In Touch is the trashiest one.
So is Us more like B-list celebrities?
It's like Stars Are Like You. Have you seen that? Well, they'll show Ryan Phillippe, and he'll be going to like Rite Aid, and they'll be like, they get drugs just like you,
right?
Or like Jennifer Gardner will be going to like White Castle, and they're like, they get sliders just like you.
They are people.
They are people in a way. I mean, they go to like pharmacies and fast food restaurants, but I didn't need a picture to tell me that. I just assumed they were.
Well, when I worked at a Bloomingdale's once when I lived in L.A., and I had stars coming in. I had Christina Ricci. Her credit card was denied when she was trying to buy some underwear from me. Sold Mel Gibson some boxer shorts. Sold Bruce Willis some weird lacy underwear that he claimed was for his daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
Oh, no.
It's creepy.
Well, that's the big celebrity news now, about Kutcher and Demi.
Oh, they broke up.
Breaking up.
I never saw that coming.
Well,
what is she, 84 and he's 13? I don't...
Yeah, it's something like that. It's some sort of separation like that. She and him apparently brought other women into the bedroom. This is what I heard.
Together?
Together. And, like, the rule was, with Demi, she was like, you can have these other women as long as I can have them with you. And I have to know about it.
So she's sitting in a calf can in a chair, and he's...
No.
Bring them to me, Ashton.
As far as I know,
yeah. So he brings this poor, 20-year-old girl in, and she's like, "Meh," with her long fingernails. And
the eroticism begins. But apparently he was just, out there with these other girls, and she was... felt that was, infidelity. And she wasn't involved with some of these other girls, and she was like, that's it. We're done.
Well, I think that makes sense,
Her kids are, celebrities now.
Scout.
Scout is one of them. Rumor,
I think
is older than Scout.
Fucking hell.
Rumor is like on... I think she's on TV shows, or she's on some show or something.
What is with these dickhead celebrities naming their kids? I mean, this is a whole other subject that we don't need to get into, but Rumor and fucking Scout. Look at this. This should be a segment. It's like Celebrity Minute with Warren and Brad.
Oh, that's what people talk about, you know?
I guess that's what we're talking about right now. I usually don't.
Celebrity culture is huge.
I will admit that if I ever hear of some celebrity, even if I don't know who they are, that some paparazzi has snapped naked photos of them, I will look it up on the internet.
Well, anytime I hear about, like, a very good athlete that's a woman, I always go to just look for pictures of her to see what she looks like.
You want to see if she looks a little...
For some reason, I just want to see if she's attractive or not.
So, like, Maria Sharapova, you're...
Oh, she's attractive.
Okay.
But, well, it's the other thing. Well, if, like, a professional athlete is funny, like this, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, this guy is really funny. He's not funny in comparison to other funny people.
Well, it's when they talk about a politician who's really good looking.
Yeah, he's not like good looking in comparison to actual good looking people. He's
not good looking compared to actual ugly people. He's good looking according to a politician, and that's a very low standard.
Yeah, like Haley Barber. If you're putting like Barack Obama next to Haley Barber, Barack Obama looks really good.
Fucking Bill Clinton.
Yeah, he was supposed to be good looking, right?
Oh my God, he's so sexy. What are you talking about? He's got like Wolfman hair. This is the weird, smug, fat baby face. Looks like he just got a popsicle. He's just ridiculous.
But it's the same thing with the women that are athletes, right?
Yeah.
Because most of them are just so not attractive at all. If there's one that's a little bit attractive, people are like,
right, I'm
blown away by this woman. And you find them and you're like, she's all right.
Well, you sorted that out.
Yeah.
Women's athletes.
Women's athletes are like not as attractive as you might think they are.
We also don't want to date someone who might slap you around, you know? Because you have to imagine they probably have a little higher testosterone level than most women.
Well, like Serena Williams.
Yeah, they get angry and suddenly you've got these massive thighs wrapped around your face smothering you.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
Well, who does?
Well, that's what I've always heard about, with being gay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
What have you heard about being gay?
Well, I've heard that, sometimes they get in like a fight.
These domestic arguments.
But I mean, it's not like in a heterosexual domestic dispute. Typically, the man's just physically abusing the woman because he's like bigger and stronger than her.
Well, typically that's rare when a man abuses women.
No. I'm saying if an abuse is happening,
if violence,
if violence is occurring, rarely is it happening. No, it's not like that's not like normal.
I don't know what your relationship's like.
Normally in a relationship, the man beats the woman, but if you have like a gay relationship. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, it's sort of like a boxing match. It's like pound for pound, who's going to be the best one. And it's sort of like a knockdown, drag-out fight. It's like, who's going to win this fight this time?
That's interesting because, in a heterosexual relationship, if the man flies off the handle and smacks the woman around, which is horrible. Don't ever do that, listeners.
In case you're wondering if we were condoning domestic violence.
That would be, to me, obviously there's a lot of women who do stay in those sorts of relationships, unfortunately, but to me that would be like, okay, obviously that person is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Immediately. In a male-male relationship, do you think this is just kind of par for the course? They smack each other around every once in a while, and it's not like but there's also the whole dynamic where there's often the top and the bottom.
Oh boy.
So there might be more of a...
Okay. Now we're really speaking from something we know nothing about, but we've just heard I
did work in West Hollywood at a Bloomingdale. So.
Well, I know that my cousin was telling me a story once. He had gone to a wedding, and his friends were there, and they were roommates, and they had gotten in a fight in the parking lot, and the police were called. And I guess the fight was wrapped up. They were just fighting. They're just friends, so they got in a fight. And they had to take him downtown, book him, because it was a domestic violence situation, because they lived together.
Even though they're not in a relationship.
Yeah, but you could say that, though, couldn't you? I mean, so there's no way you can get out of it that way. Because, if you were at home with your wife and you're, beating her, she's like, oh, you're beating me. And I'm like, I'm not dating her, so you can't arrest me. You know what I mean?
Well, when you're legally married, I think that has...
Yeah. So, but they're really careful about this domestic violence stuff because they think, people can always keep getting away with it. So they're like, no, if there's a report of domestic violence, you guys live together, you guys are fighting, we're taking you downtown.
That's interesting. But there's so many cases, I'm sure, where there's college douchebags living together who smack each other around. Is that... I mean, I don't think the cops are getting involved in that all the time.
I don't know. I don't know if there was a fight at a frat house if they would come in and be like, well, you guys are obviously
Battering
making love.
Your roommate.
So you guys need to be booked, and we'll find out which one's the culprit here.
Oh, yes, by the way, if anyone wants to get in touch, we now have a website, but it's www.warrenandbradley.com, Warren spelled with 2 R's. And also, if you want to get in touch with us, you can write to us at podcast@warrenandbradley.com. Any questions, concerns, suggestions, or if you just want to...
Anything. I mean, really, if you just need to get in touch with us, if you're people we know. I know I sometimes can be hard to get in touch with, so maybe you can try
that's because
that.
you don't have a fucking phone.
Yeah, it can be a problem.
Are you the only person in this century who doesn't have a cell phone?
I'm starting to wonder, because...
You're the only person I've ever come across.
Well, we used to have a couple friends that didn't.
Well, that was in 1996.
No,
maybe.
I mean, we... in the last couple of years, they've gotten phones, too. I don't know if there's anybody left but me.
Yeah.
I have a landline. When I first got my landline, I got a lot of messages that were like, automated calls for, I think it's a woman named Trelissa Butts.
Trelissa Butts.
Yes. So it'd be like, this call is for, and then another voice would be like, Trelissa Butts. They'd always want money. I think it was collection agencies calling this Trelissa Butts person trying to get money. It went on for years. People calling for Trelissa Butts. Mostly automated calls for Trelissa Butts. It stopped for a few years. In the last couple of months, I've been getting Trelissa Butts calls again.
I get Lori LaRue on my cell phone. And it's always, Lori LaRue, you need to call immediately. Yeah. And it's collection agencies. I actually once got one, it was from Child Protective Services.
Oh, no.
Asking for Lori LaRue. So I've built up this mythology in my head. Lori LaRue, she was this unwed mother who beat her children and racked up a lot of credit card debt and then just skipped the country and used to have my phone number. And I kept getting calls from someone looking for Tyrone, who was apparently a deadbeat ex-boyfriend who owed a lot of money to this person.
This is my thing. I think if you, impregnate a woman and she has a baby, and then she's like, you need to pay, I think it's hard for them to get you to pay if you really don't want to.
I know that there could be wage garnishment and things like that. You have to get...
You have to establish paternity.
You do have to establish paternity. If you take a paternity suit against someone, they have to, give a little sample in a cup.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like I would just be like, I don't know who this person is. I'd be like with the Bieber thing. I'd just be like, I've never met this person, and then they'd be like, well, we give up then.
Well, yeah, in those cases they know obviously if he's not the father.
But
of
I'm
the child.
saying in this situation, I am the father. I'm just trying to get out of pain.
Right. Well, they can make you establish paternity, and then once there's a court decision, then they can garnish your wages. They can do all sorts of things.
Can you imagine having your wages garnished?
Garnish? See that? I don't understand that, because garnishment, when you have a nice dinner and you put a little garnish on the side, it's like a little piece of parsley, maybe a lemon wedge or a piece of orange. So garnish being, you garnish my wages all you want. Put a little extra.
A little extra green on the side.
Yeah.
It'd be so frustrating, wouldn't it? So you're already piddly wages being garnished to support some brat.
Well, maybe you shouldn't impregnate people, Warren.
I'm gonna stop, I swear.
You should probably stop. That's the funny thing, though, is that, I mean, the women's movement has made it pretty far, but there's still this thing where, it's the man. The man has to pay for the kid, which I agree with, but how does that work into
the woman's stuck
equality?
with the kid.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, so if let's say...
they could sell it if they wanted to.
Well, I guess you can make money doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But let's say, the kid popped out of the woman, and she would, jumped out of the bed and, took off running right afterwards, and you were, stuck with this baby, and they're like, sir, this is your baby. You're like, ooh. You would want to get money from her, too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but nobody would give you money.
You don't think so? If she, skipped town?
I don't think so.
Or she, went off to her job again, and she's like, what are you going to do, buddy?
But that's the thing. It's it's not just the guy's fault that the woman got pregnant. She didn't, she wasn't taking birth control, or it takes two to tango.
Exactly. There's no phrase. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Two to tango. Horizontal tango.
Meaning they're laying down and having sex on top of each other.
Exactly. I know it's a very common nightmare. It's the most common nightmare I've ever had is the impregnating nightmare.
Pops up. Daddy.
Yeah, or I'm pregnant.
I'm not really worried about getting a horrible disease. That's fine. I'll die. But having a child...
It is weird. I would, too. It's if they were you've contracted something, you've got a couple months to live, I'd be like, it's a real bummer.
Yeah.
But if they were like, there's gonna be a baby here, I'd be like, this is much worse.
I do have creepy dreams where I have children sometimes where they're sort of poignant. Oh, Junior. I always
Like
have
a touching dream about your
I always
baby?
have like a wood paneled study. I'm in there writing with a pipe.
Yeah.
And my little boy will come in and sit on my lap.
Nothing that quaint actually happens.
I don't think so. Maybe in 1954.
Yeah, you just live in the same kind of place where you live now, and the baby's like really awful. And it's screaming all the time. It's demanding like toys.
Your wife.
The wife is just like really like, ugh. She's just had it.
We're out of milk for the baby.
All you want to do is just like sneak out and just go anywhere to get away from them.
I still think maybe at some point I could have a child.
Really?
Yeah.
You think it's more likely you're going to have a child or that I'm going to have a child? Because I'm 100% against having a child at this point.
Yeah. See, the thing is, since we're not women, we could always be 84 and have a child if we wanted to. So it's easy for me to think maybe sometime in the future I'll have a child. Maybe that'd be good. You wouldn't even know you had a child when you're 84.
You want to be like senile and then have intercourse with the woman and then have her have a baby and they come visit you and you be in the nursing home just slobbering all over yourself?
Well, maybe I'll be really rich and she'll want something to, bind me to her, so there's inheritance and things like that.
That'd be nice to have. I guess if I was really rich and I was like in my late 70s and I didn't really have anything else going on.
Yeah.
And then I would like have this baby, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's an adorable baby," and I'd play with the baby and stuff. And then I'd die, and I wouldn't have to worry about
nobody would
teenagers.
expect much from you.
No, they're like, "Well, he's old. You
Yeah.
know, what is he supposed to do?" And I'm like, "I'm doing the best I can." They're like, "We understand."
And isn't that our intellectual evolutionary imperative is to pass our seed?
Yeah, it's quite the paradox, isn't it? It's the evolutionary imperative is to pass on the seed. Yet the one thing I'm trying to avoid at all costs. Is
Yeah.
passing
Well,
on
that
the
means
seed.
your life will be completely meaningless for him.
Starting to suspect that already. It is what it is, though, with evolution, right? Because it's like if your seed gets passed on or it doesn't, it's natural selection.
That's true.
So, I mean, if my seed was passed on, it would be because it should have been passed on.
I like the fact that we're saying seed right now.
You know what I'm talking about.
Do I?
Ejaculate,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure.
If the seed is planted and a beautiful flower...
In a fertile field.
Yeah, is born from that. And then if that one passes it on too, and then I must have been fit because it survived.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to be fit, though, because my seed's going to stop.
But I'm sure you could find women who would be willing to procreate with you.
It's never been a problem.
Well, no, yeah, I know.
It's been a problem in trying to avoid these women coming after me looking for my seed.
Turkey basters.
Yeah, please, demanding it.
I've thought about that before, too, is sperm donation.
Yeah.
Because then that's the best of both worlds, because you don't necessarily know that anyone's selecting your sperm unless they call you, we need more. It's going like hotcakes. But
Seems unlikely.
I don't know. But then, you pass it on, you don't have to worry about it. And I always have this fantasy in my mind that maybe, with hundreds of progeny out there somewhere, people just using up that sperm like crazy. And then when I'm about 68, there's some sort of strange mental telepathic connection that I have with my children who I've never met. And then I can just summon them all to me.
You have a little army of children.
Yeah,
you
that goes
command.
along with my fantasy of owning an island and making people wear jumpsuits and have submachine guns and take over the world.
Well, my fantasy involving the island and procreation always is, we talk about how dogs, they all come from wolves, yet they all look so strange.
Right.
Some of them are very big, some of them are very small.
Yes.
It's taking people
and
then selectively breeding people to get really gigantic people and really small people.
This is a very delicate subject because I've had these same fantasies as well. But of course, if you start talking about selective breeding with humans, people get very...
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not actually going to do this, but the idea appeals to me of going over years and years and years,
Yeah.
selectively breeding and getting like 9-foot tall humans or like 2-foot
Little
tall
Chihuahua
humans.
people running around.
Yeah, and then like, oh, it would be so great. Think about what you could make.
I've thought about this too. I want to make a race of giants. That would be awesome.
Or just like ones that have different coats and stuff, or different, right?
Well, yeah, because that's the cool thing is we have these genetic, these genes that can be turned off and on, and if you can select, because there are people born hairy,
Yeah.
So if you can isolate that gene, try to get it to pass on to the future generations, you could have these hairy ape people who are still intelligent. You could probably get the tail going again if you wanted to, because that's still there. There's so much that we could do.
Yeah, you see, where that eugenics is really can appeal to, like, you know, because you're like, I could make some people that are really smart.
In the past, it was, you know, kind of racist in nature, but we're not talking about that.
But I mean,
well, yeah, but
it's horrible.
It's horrible.
You can't actually do it. You can't take people, force them to breed with each other to create like a super race.
What if it was voluntary? You get a big test a test group. And you isolate, okay, if this person coupled with this person, we might be able to get this strain going. And you put it to them. You're like, yeah, would you guys like to...
Okay, if I had billions of dollars, I might do this. Yeah. And I'd put ads out. It would be controversial. It would be all over, like, Newsweek. People would be like, mad or right on. I know that's a terrible headline, but it'd be something. You know, a picture of me. On. And I'd be, like, advertising on, like, Craigslist being like, are you hairy? Come to my island. Are you a hairy female? And I'd be like, you two, I need... to make you guys have a baby. And they're like, I don't want to have sex with that person. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll
set
just
them
take
up
it
in
out.
A household. You like,
because they could raise the hairy babies too. The weird thing is when they produce like a baby that's not hairy, I can't have that baby producing again. So
that's the thing
that
too,
baby has to go somewhere else.
Because when you're breeding dogs, you know, you've got your kennel. You get the dogs that they don't have the proper traits. You either, you know, you just give them away to people, families. You're not going to just have these babies out in the field roaming around like the failed experiment.
And the other thing is, like, their, like, children from the island have to agree to go along with it, too, right? And they're like, I'm like, you're 18. The only reason you exist is because I made an ad to have your parents come out here. I want you to have sex with this other hairy boy on this other part of the island. That's the person you're going to have sex with.
The problem with this as well is that I don't know if there's a lot of people who would be really thrilled about being hairy in our society. Maybe if we were talking about better traits, like very strong and physically imposing or super intelligent, maybe having... I've always wanted people with really big goggly eyes. I think that would be cool. Or maybe, I don't know, like apish sort of protruding jaws.
Wait, you're saying that people don't want to be hairy, but people want to have goggly eyes?
That way they could actually defend them. I want people to actually have natural defenses again.
Oh.
You know? Claws.
Oh, yeah.
Big teeth.
What other... I wonder if you could ever breed somebody with like a stinger or something. Or maybe if you had...
I think that probably wouldn't happen. That you'd actually have to be doing weird gene therapy. And because we have to work with our evolutionary history, because there are certain things in our DNA that could recur. Because that's the thing with the wolf. There's different coat colors and things, and you can breed that and isolate that and get something going. But with humans, there were never any stingers, as far as I know.
But, like, human saliva is very bad for you if you bite somebody.
That has more to do with just the bacteria that are in your mouth.
You don't think that that's, like, a genetic trait, necessarily?
I don't think so.
And you just get people that have really, like, awful bacteria in their mouth, and you keep having those people do it. And then, but it's like, what are the Komodo dragon has that, right?
So, what is that? Halitosis? Was it bad breath?
Yeah. I guess that'd be a weird thing to breed too, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm assuming that people who have that also have a lot of bacteria in their mouth. And
I don't know if there's any correlation
you might get
sick. It would seem like there would be, that the people that have horrible halitosis, if they bit
halitosis, that's what
you would have like a more of a chance of having a horrible infection.
So you want to breed people who have a whole slew of bacteria in their mouth, and so on the off chance that they bite somebody, that person might eventually get sick.
And I think if you do it for long enough, I think eventually you're going to get to the point where it's like the bacteria in there is so poisonous that like people die within minutes if they get bit by these people. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I'd also do the thing where, you know, if the frogs have like a red mark, or they're bright.
Oh, so you want them poisonous to have, like bright purple skin.
So, like, I'd breed, like, people that were maybe more prone to having, like, big birthmarks and also have the halitosis thing going on.
So they're the poison dart frog people.
Yeah, and they'd have, like, so they could sort of be mottled or, like, striped. And you'd be like, you'd see those people and you'd be like, don't mess with him. I know he looks like a little scrawny guy, but if he bites you at all, you're going to die. Again, no point to doing that. I guess there's some military applications, maybe.
Perhaps a race of super soldiers.
But then they can't be modeled. They'd have to look like everyone else, and then you would have to drop them.
Well, you could just have sort of camouflage modeling. They wouldn't have to wear a uniform.
Oh, yeah.
But then they're just naked in battle. That might not be a good idea either.
Yeah, I guess you could just put
It is easy to just put clothes on. Yeah. That's easier than breeding thousands of generations getting a modeled camouflage person.
It's probably easier just to put like some sort of like poisonous thing in somebody's mouth and have them bite people than actually breed them to be born with it. There's a reason why people aren't going through with these ideas a lot of the time.
No.
There's no...
Well, and if they are, like, the island of Dr. Moreau, it's because they're an insane megalomaniac trying to play God.
Yeah.
Which I think is basically what we've established about ourselves. It has nothing to do with furthering the human race. It'd just be fun.
Well, we have a curiosity about it, but we're not quite crazy enough to actually go through with it.
Well, you also have to have a large amount of money.
I mean, if we were really
a
into
secret
it,
island fortress,
we would be,
neither of us have.
we'd have this will to power, and we would, like, get our money, and then we'd get these people, and we'd, like, actually be, like, capturing people on the streets and stuff.
Well, and then what you could also do is, instead of... There'd be part of the forced breeding program, but then you could also just set up environments where people would either have to adapt or die. And so after... But see, we'd have to be immortal, too, because it takes... You're breeding dogs... They get 2 or 3 years old, they can have sex and have kids, or a year old, So there's a lot of, you can get a lot of generations in a very short amount of time.
Well, that was always the problem with this. It was the fact that you'd have to, like, it would have to be passed on to your children.
Right.
You couldn't get it all done within your own lifetime, so it would be very unsatisfying.
So in order for this to work, we need unlimited funds. We need a secret island fortress.
Yeah.
We need people willing to breed with freaks and create more freaks as a result. We need children who would also be invested in this mad scheme and who would agree to carry it on. And then, as you said, we would die before any of this came to fruition. But we might die secure in the knowledge that eventually our island will produce a race of super freak people with mottled skin and venomous saliva who could eventually take over the world.
I think you'd have to
It's the long view. Basically.
It'd have to be secret, too.
Well, yeah, definitely.
It'd be hard to keep that secret, wouldn't it? Oh, I can just imagine, like, the Dateline NBC story about that.
When the Coast Guard raids the island, there's all these...
Kind of like hairy people having sex and, like, what were you doing? You're
and
like,
us in monocles and lab coats.
Yeah, I was like, it wasn't for me. It was for the generations beyond. I was doing it for them.
All right. We sorted that out, too. What's next?
Once as a child, my mother was like, eat this English muffin. And I was like, I can't. I don't like English muffins. For some reason, they made me gag. So I sat there, and I was trying to force it down. I, like, made me vomit. And I just sat there for hours with this English muffin trying to force it down. And it wasn't like a thing where I was trying to be defiant, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to show you who's boss, I'm not going to eat this English muffin. There's something about the English muffin, like, I couldn't get it down. And I don't think I learned anything that day. And I don't think anything was established in the parent-child relationship. I just think it was, like, uncomfortable for everyone, and eventually we, like, gave up.
For me, it was always baked beans. For some reason, they were always preparing baked beans when I was a kid, and I hated them.
Oh, like the kind that come out of the can that has, like, bacon in it and stuff, too?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it ever
That's
had
like pork and
bacon in it.
beans.
Yeah. And it's funny how as a child, when you eat something you don't like, you vomit.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen now.
No.
I don't just spontaneously throw up if I have something that isn't quite to my taste. But as a kid...
It's like a baby rattlesnake, you learn.
Exactly. And I guess it's just you're making yourself vomit to be a dick? Is that what's going on?
Are you? Or it's just like... I don't know.
Or maybe your gag reflex is just much more pronounced as a child.
Well, you have a harder time fighting off the grossed out sensation.
Maybe.
Like, I still get grossed out a little bit, but I kind of, like, fight it back, you know? But I think when you're a kid and you get grossed out, you're just like, I'm grossed out. I can't handle this.
I think it's mostly mental, though, because it's
Well,
not...
being grossed out is mental.
Bad. Yeah.
I mean, if you could be desensitized to anything like that.
But I just have memories of, like, a plate of vomit with baked beans in it, staring at this plate after I've thrown up.
I don't think this goes on with parents anymore.
No.
Like, they don't, like, eat this. Like, we had liver once as a kid.
Oh, I hated liver.
My uncle, like, he's like, here's a liver. He brought it over. I'm like, God, what is this? And he's like, cook this liver. And I was like,
where did he get the liver? Was it a human liver?
No, I hope not. But for some reason, I have relatives that know farmers, and there's like, I got a liver, and they brought it over. Something, I don't think that happens anymore. Nobody ever brings me a liver. And I was eating this thing, and I was like, I just remember it being, like, disgusting.
It's the texture.
The texture's, like...
so gross.
It's gross.
So rich.
And everyone, like, lots of people don't like liver. It's not like I was being, like, gross about it and being like, I don't want to eat this liver. And it's like, why are you forcing a small child to eat this liver? Who cares? I'm never going to eat liver again. I never ate any more liver. I didn't need to learn how to eat liver.
Well, there is something... Some little kids are so picky, and they just won't eat anything. And you do have to establish, like, okay, if I've prepared this for dinner, you have to fucking eat it.
Yeah.
But if it's a rarity, like, I didn't like baked beans, I didn't like cantaloupe, I was not a fan of sweet potatoes.
Oh, really?
Those were my main things as a child.
I love sweet potatoes.
And I just remember my parents constantly, it was as though they were purposely cooking these things to try to force me to eat them. And watermelon.
Really?
Okay, watermelon is usually a treat for people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's buy some watermelon. My dad would buy watermelon constantly and try to force me to eat it, and I hated it. And it was just the only reason I could possibly fathom for him forcing me to eat it was just to be a dick.
Yeah.
There was no reason. It's not like it was my dinner and I wasn't eating my watermelon that we had for dinner. You just eat this watermelon. Like, no. I'm like, oh, I remember him shoving it into my mouth and me gagging.
It's a form of abuse. You know what I mean? It's like, why are you doing that? Why are you causing this sort of trouble? It's like that Jethro Tull CD.
Oh my God. That is hell. When if I go to hell, the devil will be like, come into hell. I'm like, all right. He'll sit me down. He'll give me a plate of watermelon. And Jethro, because he's in hell. Or is he dead? He's probably not dead.
Who?
Jethro Tull.
Is Jethro Tull the name of a person
I don't
or just
know.
the name of that group?
I don't know.
Or is the guy that plays the flute named Jethro Tull?
I'm imagining that the guy who plays the flute with the floppy
I
hat
feel
and
that way
beard is
too.
Jethro Tull, but I don't know. No, I don't think it is Jethro Tull. It's something else. But he'll be there wearing some sort of clogs, dancing on my table, playing the flute while I'm being forced to eat watermelon. That is hell.
Next time on the Ward and Bradley Show.
Let's make some holiday magic.
It's Christmas time, Warren.
Start to vomit, get very sick, like wake up with my fists all like scraped up, you know.
I had Taco Bell food kind of crushed and smeared on my body as I was in bed.
I don't want to like have to do a lot of Christmas related things. I don't want to buy gifts for people.
We'll have to get fresh cadavers and then just try different ways of breaking their bones because we're not assholes, right? We're not really.
The Warren and Bradley Show. Available on iTunes and at warrenandbradley.com.